Greetings, damnation, and happy Monday. It looks as if having the audacity to appoint a reality TV star host, because I don't even refer to what Pete Hegseth did at Fox as news, because we know that it was not. To hire someone from Fox, a personality, as your Secretary of Defense seems to be not the best idea. Maybe, maybe actually having qualified people lead our agencies. And by qualified, I mean that they know what the Constitution is, that they follow it, that they know what the rules of war and engagement are, and they follow it. Um, Seems to be something that this regime doesn't really know anything about. And so, yeah, this week, I think we're going to see some heads roll. This week, I actually do think that they can't pretend any longer that Pete Hegseth is in a job that he has any idea of how to do it. Okay. I think that Pete Hegseth is 12 years old playing G.I. Joe and is excited to blow things and people up and the bad guys and be the white cowboy pulling himself up by his bootstraps. Like, he lives in some type of narcissistic white nationalist fantasy. I think they all do. But it seems to me that maybe, just maybe, blowing up people that are clinging for life on a boat and then trying to lie to us about it only to then have to reverse course the next day isn't the best strategy coming from, the best people. Folks, I am so happy to be back. I hope that you had a wonderful holiday rest, because buckle up. It's time to jump back in. Hello, damnation, and happy Monday. I'm so happy to be back with all of you. I hope that you had a restful break. I hope that you had some really good food, that you got to connect with family or family that you love and wanted to be around. I know for some that the holidays are rough. And so I posted a video with my wonderful friend, um, Jared Yates Sexton, on Sunday, that is up right now, that talks about why we have mixed feelings these days with regard to the holiday, why you are holding both joy but some grief, why there is anxiety and depression that formulates even more so now than before. And so Jared and I have a video that is up right now that speaks to that. So I hope that you all check that out, as well as my 12 p.m. noon video that dropped with my other friend who I love doing things with, Ahmed Baba. From Ahmed Baba News on Substack. That video is up where we broke down the fact that maybe we should all just run for Congress, being as how it's so fucking lucrative, that you could come in, broke, and then leave millions upon millions of dollars richer. Over the holiday, my family was just like, no, seriously, why don't you just run for Congress since it's such a moneymaker? This is where we are. It used to be, where you ran for office because you actually wanted to help people, or you ran for office because, you had some ideas that you wanted to share. No, people run for office now to get rich and be able to do insider trading and then pass policies that allow that to be legal, but it to be illegal for everybody else. It's wild how that works, isn't it? Anyway, my dear friends, it is very good to have you here on the Danielle Moodie Show. So before we get into the war crimes that are happening, let's start out with Donald Trump's other loss this week already, and it's only Monday. But appeals court says Alina Habba is unlawful U.S. attorney. The judges wrote that the Trump administration appeared to have become frustrated by legal and political barriers, things called laws, that have prevented its preferred U.S. attorneys from leading federal prosecutors' offices. Ms. Baba is one of a number of U.S. attorneys whom the Trump administration has sought to keep in power through a series of unusual, euphemism for illegal, maneuvers, even though she was neither confirmed by the Senate nor appointed by district trial court judges, the two traditional pathways. Defendants in New Jersey had challenged her authority as U.S. attorney, leading to Monday's decision. In its ruling, the three-judge panel based in Philadelphia affirmed an earlier ruling by a federal district court judge. The court said that the government's tactics had violated the law, illegal, as written, and concluded that overall, the Trump administration appeared to have become frustrated by legal and political barriers to placing its favored U.S. attorneys in charge. So here's the thing. I don't understand why the media must use 10 words when just like 3 or 4 would do, right? Like why you must go ad length, ad nauseum to have these circuitous reports that just when you could just say this. The Trump regime once again tried to illegally appoint a U.S. attorney that was favored for Donald Trump. These are not attorneys that are for the American people or to uphold any laws or justice. They are merely protection, Teflon for Donald Trump and all of his legal troubles, right? Alina Habba was not confirmed by the Senate, nor was she appointed by a judge. And so what they are referring to as political and legal maneuvers are actually them trying to skirt the law and hoping that no one pays attention or no one has the gall to go up against them, because everybody that goes up against Donald Trump somehow ends up with a literal and figurative bullseye on them, right? So, again, let's just state the fucking facts without giving Donald Trump and this regime an out for all of the illegal bullshit that they are doing and trying as a way to subvert, right, the will of the people, to subvert voices, to subvert the law in order to get done what it is that they want to get done. Why can't we just tell the truth? Why is that so fucking hard? Like, it's not, Donald Trump is doing these legal and political maneuvers. No, Donald Trump is functioning like a fucking criminal mob boss, right? And he is skirting the law and daring anyone to challenge him. That's what he's doing. I call it testing the fences, but it's some mob ass shit that Donald Trump is doing and hoping, again, that no one is stupid enough to challenge him. But then when they do, what ends up happening? Donald Trump looks like a fucking idiot that doesn't know what he's doing. And he hires all of these people that look good, that look the part, but actually have no brains inside of their head. I give you what happened last week with Halligan and having Comey's case and Tish's case thrown out. Right? Like, folks, it's just, I got to tell you that it is baffling to me how we continue to put our faith in a corporate media structure that is absolutely and completely complicit with the laws that this regime is breaking on a regular basis. Now, speaking of breaking the law, here's where we get in today's breaking news. So Pete Hegseth has been accused of, ordering a second strike on a boat in Venezuela, where he allegedly had said, kill them all, right? Because he wants no survivors, because survivors could then attest to whether or not they are narco terrorists or just, fishermen that happen to be in the right place at the wrong time. So when it was brought to Pete Hegseth's attention and the world's attention vis-a-vis a reporting from the Washington Post, which I'm shocked by, I didn't know they still did that over there, reporting that is. So when the report comes out from the Washington Post that this second strike was made and could potentially be a war crime, Pete Hegseth's response to that was to jump on social media, say that it was a lie, say that it was a hoax, say that it was made up, and then post a childish fucking AI meme because nothing says innocent like this. So Hegseth makes fun of war crimes with twisted AI children's book meme. And this is what the Secretary of Defense posted on his own social media platform. The story Franklin, right, which teaches things. Franklin targets narco terrorists. So one, I'm just going to say this. If I'm the company that makes the Franklin books, I'm fucking suing Pete Hegseth. Okay? So there's that. I'm suing you because there has to be some copyright infringement. There has to be like some shit that makes this illegal. And then the immature, childish, ridiculous fuckery that comes from the Secretary of Defense. Now, somebody said on social media, they said, if we ever have another president, if we ever have another government, right? Which again, not 100% sure we will, but if we ever do, someone said on social media, none of them should be allowed to have social media accounts. None of them. But you see, the thing is, what's funny is that when you don't hire influencers to do the fucking job, like you wouldn't know whether or not people had social media accounts because in the prior administration, did we see the Secretary of Defense on social media? Did we see anyone other than the White House press secretary and the press team on social media in the way that these motherfuckers stay on television, stay in makeup, stay performing, and grifting? So this is what he did. The Trump administration has killed at least 80 people in its attacks on boats in the Caribbean Sea, claiming they are trafficking drugs to the United States. Interesting because, again, they have no evidence. How could you have evidence when you're blowing it up, right? So on Sunday, the Washington Post reported yesterday that on September 2nd, Hegseth gave a direct vocal order to kill every single person on an alleged drug boat off the coast of Trinidad. After the smoke cleared from the first strike, 2 people were left hanging onto the burning wreck of the ship, fighting for their lives. To comply with Hegseth's instruction, the Special Operations Commander ordered them to be bombed again, a double tap attack that is widely considered a fucking war crime. Hegseth spent the weekend defending his attack on the boat that posed no military threat to the United States whatsoever. This is what he said in response to the Washington Post's reporting. Quote, as usual, the fake news is delivering more fabricated, inflammatory, and derogatory reporting to discredit our incredible warriors fighting to protect the homeland. Biden coddled terrorists, we kill them. Our current operation in the Caribbean are lawful under U.S. And international law, with all actions in compliance with the law of armed conflict and approved by the best military and civilian lawyers up and down the chain of command. The writer goes on, this isn't a great defense of using wartime tactics to kill people in the U.S. is not currently at war with. Because again, so Pete Hegseth says everything is legal in accordance with the war doctrine. But the last time I checked, Congress did not authorize a war in the Caribbean Sea, right? Did you see that? No. Donald Trump did not get on television, and the president of the United States cannot authorize a war without Congress. So what they are doing are these targeted attacks that even our allies are backing away from, because they're like, we don't want to be caught out here at the fucking Hague having to defend shit that we did not start, nor do we see an end for. But I want folks to understand this, because here's actually what's really important here. No fentanyl comes from Venezuela. Okay? Fentanyl ain't coming from Venezuela. Venezuela was in Project 2025. Why? Because Venezuela has particular minerals and resources like oil that this regime wants control over. As a matter of fact, their oil reserves are worth, some reporting says, $18 trillion. $18 trillion. Donald Trump is bombing Venezuela because he wants to take over Venezuela for their oil and for their other minerals. That's why he's bombing Venezuela. It has nothing to do with drugs or narcotics flooding into our country, because Donald Trump doesn't actually give a shit about that. Nonetheless, so Pete Hegseth on Sunday says that the Washington Post reporting is fake news, saying that it was, quote, derogatory and made up as a way to discredit this administration. Okay? Hold that in your minds. Because what happened today? Well, the White House confirms Hegseth authorized a second strike on the drug boat. White House Press Secretary Caroline Bobblehead confirmed on Monday that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth authorized the second follow-up strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean Sea in September, following a bombshell Washington Post report that claimed he ordered the military to, quote, kill everybody. Bobblehead told reporters at the White House press briefing that Hegseth authorized Admiral Frank Bradley to carry out the second strike, which reportedly killed 2 people who were hanging on to the burning vessel after the initial strike.
The president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug boat on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And
So let's just be clear, okay? I just want to be very clear, because she's a fucking liar, to what she confirmed, right? So Pete Hegseth on Sunday, yesterday, says that the report is a lie, that he never confirmed this second strike, that everything is, but even if he did, right? Like, because here's the thing that I want folks to pay attention to. One, they come out and they say things are a lie. Then they say, even if it did happen, we were well within our rights to do it. You see how they try and cover their asses in more than one way, right? So now Pete Hegseth Which one is it? Did you authorize the strike, right? Which is now what the White House is saying, which to me seems like they're either readying themselves to throw Admiral Frank Bradley under the bus, right? Or Pete Hegseth under the bus, but somebody is going to get run over. Okay. And so she says, told White House press briefing that Hegseth authorized Admiral Frank Bradley to carry out the second strike, which reportedly killed 2 people. She said, and I'm going to repeat what she just said in that video so that we're all on the same page. Trump and Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups, what the fuck does that actually mean? Is that actually a real thing, folks? Presidentially designated narco-terrorists? So what I hear is that Donald Trump says that a boat filled with brown men is are narco-terrorists, because we have absolutely no evidence that has been offered to the American people that would have us believe that the people that they are targeting are narco-terrorists, other than the fact that they are brown and in a boat outside of Venezuela. Presidentially designated, folks, is just some euphemism for Donald Trump is going to designate any brown person as a terrorist. And because everything in this country runs on racism, not Duncan, but on racism, like he thinks that that's enough to fly. She said that with respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth, who said yesterday the story was made up, authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Y'all, it's just lots of words that don't connect, that don't make any fucking sense. And if you listen to them, then you're like, oh, it's official, because they're using things like presidential designation and narco-terrorist, and they're saying things like kinetic impact and blah, blah, blah. It's just fucking word salads. That's all that it is. She goes on, right, to now say that what Pete Hegseth offered up yesterday in saying that it was a lie. Now she says Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. Someone pull up a map. Because they keep talking about the threat to the United States is eliminated. And yet what we keep hearing is that these boats are moving away from the United States, not toward the United States. And how fast do you think a fisherman's boat is getting to the United States filled to the brim, allegedly, with narcotics? I honestly believe that they think that we are all as stupid as they are, because they just lie with abandon. They lie with abandon. And so here's a reporter who asked a question at this briefing. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny whether or not there were survivors after the initial first strike? You take a listen.
Much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would 2 survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists, to the United States, was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these stories.
So she's saying, you all are not listening to what it is that I'm saying. And then she goes ahead and repeats the same bullshit statement that was released. But the question was, what threat, if any, could 2 people, right? Who are clinging to the wreckage of a bomb boat and essentially clinging to life. What threat could they pose at that point to the United States? That was the question that was asked. And why won't the administration say whether or not there were actually survivors from the first strike? Because the problem, folks, is not that, like, first, to me, the problem is the fact that we are just unilaterally killing people in the Caribbean Sea without due process, without evidence whatsoever as to who those people are, what they are doing there. I could understand, even if this administration, for as stupid as they are, if they were going around and, let's say, arresting everybody that were in boats, right? If they were going and picking up these people, then maybe you could say, well, they're picking them up and then they're going to open up an investigation or they're going to interrogate them or whatever, so we know their whereabouts and where they're getting their cargo from, et cetera, et cetera. That's not what they're doing. They are just seeing a boat filled with brown men and bombing it. That's what they are doing. So she's saying, if you're talking to us about a threat, there is no one that is going to say in America, oh my God, the president of the United States says that there is an imminent threat to the American people. And we're going to be like, well, you know, he doesn't really know what he's doing or he's saying. I mean, we'll say that about Donald Trump. But the fact is, if you had evidence to support what it was that you were doing, would there be anyone that would come out, Democrat or Republican, that would say, no, let the drug dealers and the traffickers continue to stand? Like, no, you would have the people, the public would be on your side. But because you have no evidence, because you are just picking and choosing who you're blowing up, folks, that's the fucking problem. That's the fucking problem. And so you have this woman, right? Bobblehead Barbie, who is out there trying to be a spin doctor, and she's not even doing that well. Because she's just like, didn't you just hear my statement? Let me read it louder so that you all, because you're clearly not listening. Your statement doesn't make any fucking sense. And your statement actually contradicts what the Secretary of Defense was saying yesterday versus what the administration is saying today. So which one of you was lying? This is why they don't allow me in the White House press briefing room, because that's the question that I would ask. One of you is not telling the truth. So which one is it? Is it the president, right, who you speak for here, Bobblehead Barbie, or is it Hegseth? And now, according to Aaron Parnes over at Midas Touch, is that Ro Khanna said an hour or so ago that there is going to be an unprecedented, I'm so sick of that fucking word, unprecedented bipartisan investigation, right, into what the fuck is going on with these alleged war crimes. Like, that is what is going to be happening. And I'm telling you, look, here's what folks are beginning to see. And maybe not. We'll see, folks. We'll see. But here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that the November elections shook the shit out of Republicans who are realizing that Donald Trump is a lame duck president. And not only is Donald Trump a lame duck, he is clearly medically unwell. They don't know how much time he has, even though the White House wanted to release his perfect MRI today over his abdomen, which, again, if you're going in for a routine general physician's test, which apparently Donald Trump has now done twice because he's so fucking healthy, he needs multiple 6-month checkups. And it's not in every 6 months. You get a yearly physical. Donald Trump has gotten 2. And one of them included an MRI, which leads you to believe that doctors saw something that they wanted to either confirm or rule out, which is why you get an MRI. Folks, the fact is, I believe that some Republicans are realizing that they may not have a political future, right? That Donald Trump, their daddy in chief, is only going to be around for a few more years. And outside of that, they're going to be tied to his fucking legacy, right? And that legacy, if Democrats get back into power, is going to look more like multiple indictments, investigations into the criminal enterprise that they may not want to be tied up in. And so now they're like, ooh, maybe war crimes is the line too far. You know, war crimes that we can all see happening. Not learning about years and decades later. No, this is what social media allows us to see in real time. Lord, have mercy, have mercy, have mercy. This place is a shit show. And so, speaking of shit show, here is Donald Trump with some smelling salts being asked about his obsession with drugs, right? Because again, he says that he's a president that's going to get rid of the drugs. Biden was soft and asleep and this and that. And I am I'm going to be the anti-narco terrorist president or whatever the fuck it is that he says. And yet, he decided to pardon a notorious drug trafficker.
Mr. You've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Can you explain more about why you can pardon a notorious drug trafficker?
Well, I don't know who you're talking about. Which
Juan Romando Hernandez.
Well, I was asked by Honduras, many of the people of Honduras, they said it was a Biden setup. Not only Biden, but Biden didn't do it a lot. But it was the people that surround the resolute desk, surround Biden when he was there, which was about very little time. And the people of Honduras really thought he was set up and it was a terrible thing. He was the president of the country. And they basically said he was a drug dealer because he was the president of the country. And they said it was a Biden administration setup. And I looked at the facts and I agreed with them.
What evidence did you share?
It's kind of hard to hear. So let me just read it for you because reporter, you've made so clear how you want to keep drugs out of the U.S. Trump, right. Reporter, can you explain why you would pardon a notorious drug trafficker? Trump, I don't know who you're talking about. Reporter, Juan Orlando Hernandez. Trump, many of the people of Honduras said it was a Biden setup. I looked at the facts and agreed with them. Reporter, what evidence can you share that it was a setup? Trump, you can take any country you want. If somebody sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. He, Donald Trump, birds of a feather, right? Like he sees a president that is going to go to jail because he supported either a drug trafficking ring, ran a drug trafficking ring as president of the United States. And Donald Trump doesn't want to see a president go down for any crimes. And instead of agreeing with U.S. intelligence, right, he is instead taking the word of the people of Honduras instead. The people of Honduras convicted their president, unlike the people of the United States, because clearly thought he was a fucking criminal. You can't make this shit up. This is why It's like so hard to keep your wits about you because this shit is bananas. Like, it is bananas. You cannot in one breath talk about being, right, the anti-narco terrorist president. I care about keeping drugs out of these United States, and then pardoning a fucking notorious drug trafficker. And then blaming it on Biden. Bananas. Fucking bananas. But evidently, it seems as if maybe, according to these polls, the American people are waking up out of their fucking slumber and choosing to recognize what we are all seeing, which is that this shit is bananas. We are living in a banana republic, and Donald Trump, who lives inside of a bubble, is wildly unfucking popular.
Disaster if it holds towards the midterm elections. And I should note, of course, it's not alone. I mean, just take a look here. This is Gallup. This is the longest running poll. You know, Gallup has been conducting polls since my father was a kid, and my father was born in 1927, had me in his 60s. Look at this in January. Donald Trump's net approval rating, not too bad, not too great. It was at -1 point, right within the margin of error, breaking even. But look at this now. Negative 24 points, way, way down. We're talking about a drop of over 20 points in the wrong direction for the President of the United States. Minus 24 points, that's a 23-point move in the incorrect direction if you're the president. And of course, what's so important here, Sarah Seidner, is it matches the trend that we've seen with other polls. That is Donald Trump hitting his low for the second term. I was doing the count last night. I think we're up to 10 polls in sort of the last 40 days, 10 different pollsters who have said that Trump is at the lowest point he is in his second term.
So how does this compare to other presidents in their second term at this point in time?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, this is one of these great examples where I kind of run out of room on the slide.
You
so
sure
I just
did.
Yeah, I run out of room on the slide. So I just put up the Republican presidents. But look, the only one who's worse for me, either among Republicans or Democrats at this point in his second term, is Richard Nixon. And of course, Richard Nixon had to wave adios amigos goodbye less than a year after this poll was taken. He was at minus 36 points. Trump at minus 24 points. That beats, or is worse, I should say, beats in the wrong direction. George W. Bush, minus 19 points. His Republican Party, of course, suffered major losses in the 2006 midterm elections. Dwight Eisenhower, plus 31 points. Donald Trump has never smelt that at all. I had to go into the archives to dig up that photo. And Ronald Reagan at plus 41 points. But again, it also is worse than Harry S. Truman. It's worse than Lyndon Baines Johnson. It's worse than Barack Obama. It's worse than Bill Clinton. Anywhere you look, this is the second worst for a president of either party at this point in their second term, dating all the way back since the 1940s.
Wow. All right. Look, what does this mean for the midterms? Because are you seeing a trend that it's linked to how people feel about the president?
Yeah, okay. So, you know, we always say, hey, look, you know, we still got 11 months until the midterm elections. Right. That's forever in politics. So I decided to go back and look at this point in the second term. What happened? What was the trend line heading into the midterm elections? Were there any presidents who saw their net approval ratings rise by more than 5 points? Well, guess what, Sarah Sider? You go all the way back since Harry S. Truman. 0 out of 8 times did the president's net approval rating rise by over 5 points. And of course, Donald Trump, right now in Gallup, minus 24 points. He's in the minus teens according to the average. If he does not see a rise of more than 5 points, see you later, that Republican majority. It has never happened. Of course, we live in such a weird time in politics.
We are in a
Who knows?
weird time.
We live in a weird time,
We
but
are.
he's going to have to break history, Sarah Seidner.
All right. We will have to see, Mr. Harry Enton.
We will see.
But you are breaking the bank. You're looking pretty good today.
I feel pretty
like
gosh
it.
Let me just tell you, Harry just laid it out. Donald Trump needs to rewrite history with those numbers in order to have Republicans in a fighting chance of holding on to the House. Now, it is, for me, it is going to most likely be that Democrats, again, this is now, we got to make room for the gerrymandering. We got to hold tight for the Supreme Court decision in June. We got a whole lot of mayhem that Republicans are trying to create in order to stop what they see coming, which is a blue tsunami, right? Barring all of that, There is no way that Donald Trump's poll numbers go up. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because everything that he is doing, okay, from the ICE raids to committing war crimes in the Caribbean Sea, to the gutting of the Department of Education, to the mass firings that have happened, to the tanking of our economy, to the reports coming out that the housing correction is going to be worse than 2008, talking about the fact that more jobs will be lost in 2026. There is no way that that man's poll numbers go up. And this is why he is having a meltdown about tomorrow's special election in Tennessee. That Afton Ben is within striking distance in what was a comfortably red district, and Donald Trump is all over social media, his broke down social media platform, trying to get Van Epps to be elected in a district that he won by double digits. But do you know where Donald Trump isn't going? He ain't flying anywhere domestically. He's not showing up at any of these rallies. And according to new reporting out in the Atlantic, is like, what's going on with Donald Trump's schedule? What's going on with the picture that was circulating of him at Mar-a-Lago looking like he was a patient in a nursing home, sitting at a table, looking dazed out of his fucking mind? What is going on with the supposed nurses that are being hired inside of the White House? Why the MRI, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Republicans are starting to see that if they tether themselves to the Titanic that is Trump, they are going to be without jobs. And frankly, in this economy that they have fucked over, I don't think any of them want to be without a job. So you need to start looking around and realizing that this motherfucker may be in power right now, but he ain't going to be in power forever. And the more and more people pay attention to what he is doing, the more and more Americans begin to wake up, right? You start to see the approval ratings like this. And I'm going to play for you a little bit of Morning Joe, which I can't fucking stand. But even them, who love to placate every fucking body, were a bit beside themselves.
To just 36% approval, voters are paying close attention to the wars overseas, the economy here at home, and the heavy-handed approach to immigration issues, including the deportation of a college student who was brought to America when she was just 7 years old. She's now in Honduras this morning after being shackled at the airport while flying home from Boston to Texas to surprise her family on Thanksgiving.
That's just a terrible story. And when Republicans said they were going to deport the worst of the worst, did they really mean Babson college students that were coming home to surprise their family? And then here you have this college student at Babson who is met at Logan and ends up being shackled and sent back to Honduras, a country where her parents removed her from because of the violence when she was 7 years old. And again, this is remarkable. I don't want to get into great details, but this weekend we ran into a couple who was very sweet. They watched the show. The wife, though, was said she was MAGA, big MAGA supporter. We had a good, fun conversation for a few minutes. But then Mika pressed her, Jonathan, on, okay, so do you really support mothers being ripped out of the arms of their babies?
The way people are being treated by masks.
Do you really support kindergarten teachers being ripped out of their classrooms, American citizens being grabbed, cuffed, detained? Do you really support these peaceful people who
Get caught up, pulled in.
have done nothing, but maybe their parents were brought here. Some green card holders getting stopped again, American citizens, and in this case, a Babson student who went home to surprise her family for Thanksgiving, and then coming back to Boston, surrounded at the airport, and again, literally taken in shackles to Honduras. Because the justification was for all of this, from this very kind person we talked to, well, we're at war. We are at war. And if we end up, if American citizens get arrested and thrown in jail for a couple of days, if this happens to young children, we are at war. We're at war. The border is more secure than it's ever been. Immigration is down. We're at war.
But this is what MAGA has created. This is what Morning Joe has elevated. When you give, right, these racist, white nationalist, war-hungry people platforms and make it so that their point of view on referring to people who do not look like them or pray like them as vermin, when you provide platform and space and legitimacy to their argument, why are you now surprised that a MAGA supporter would come up to you and now when you're trying to feign like you give a fuck and they say to you, well, we're at war, and you say, what war? Things are more secure and better than ever. And I'm just like, what war? The one that you've been waging with your voice and microphone by giving these motherfuckers carte blanche on your fucking shows. So now you're surprised that they're filled with misinformation and disinformation when clearly you chose not to do your job. You chose to give up journalistic integrity for clicks and for likes. Oh, you need to go back to acting school to pretend that you give a fuck. Because I saw right through the clutching of the pearls and the sad voice from Mika. Oh my God, can you imagine the children? Yeah. Been for the last decade that you created a cozy space on that fucking set where you wanted to talk about some of the legitimate policies that were coming out of 2025, and now you want to turn around and go search with a flashlight in your two hands for a conscience? Oh, say it with me and say it with your chest. Miss me with the bullshit. Ugh. I cannot stand when it is the people that create the problem want to turn around and act shocked when the problem that they created ends up on their front doorstep. It is mind blowing, honestly, mind blowing. So I close out today with, a topic that I'm going to make more time for on this show. And I have done some videos that I have posted, but I'm thinking about potentially doing just more deep dive videos on AI. Because I don't believe that we are paying enough attention to artificial intelligence and what is happening and what is being created and for whose benefit and at whose expense. And the people that are supposed to be in charge of regulating, right, these new technologies have no idea what they are and are so invested, literally invested in the companies that are in this technological arms race that could potentially obliterate mankind and are doing so without any restraints because guess what? Money's being stuffed into their pockets. We have a very big fucking problem that is here now. It's not coming. It is here. And we're not talking about it in the ways that make sense. And so I bring you this today, and this is from the Times, an actual right-wing, whatchamacallit, a right-wing British paper. And sometimes I look at, what the centrist and the right wing is saying. And this is from this paper. AI could replace 40% of American jobs, says report. McKinsey report finds that with today's technology, AI agents and robots are ready to automate about 57% of work hours in the United States. The American consultancy's analysis found that robots and AI agents could automate more than half of U.S. work hours, both manual and cognitive. I want you to think about this for a moment. Because initially, what was talked about, right, was replacing manual labor, factory workers. And so those that were supposedly white collar workers were like, whatever. Factories have been long shipped over and, and to more to places that have zero labor laws, wildly inhumane treatment, so we don't really care about those people. But now what we are seeing is to replace cognitive. And I'll take out the word cognitive and let's just put in the term middle management. Using technology that is available today if companies redesigned how they do things. Most of the roles at risk involve the kinds of drafting, processing information, and routine reasoning that AI agents can do. Hiring is slowing in some such jobs, such as among paralegals, administrative and office support workers, and programmers, the research found. Similarly, dangerous physical jobs in warehouses or operating machines are most likely to be replaced by robots, McKinsey said. Conversely, a third of U.S. jobs would be difficult to replace with AI because they have uniquely human attributes, such as nursing, which, by the way, was just declassified as not being a professional fucking job. Okay? Because if it is a professional job, then you can get a certain kind of loans and go to certain types of school. But if it's not, that's on you. So I just want you to pay attention to what they say can't be replaced by AI, but what we are deprofessionalizing and certainly going to underpay. Some 70% of the tasks performed by carers and other healthcare workers require the kind of physical presence, empathy, care, and dexterity that machines cannot replicate. Building maintenance and repair work, which demands flexibility, judgment, and thinking on the job, often in unpredictable environments, is similarly unlikely to be automated. The barrier to adoption came from policy choices and spending on implementation and development. The paper, Agents, Robots, and Us, emphasized that changing workflows rather than tinkering with individual tasks could generate $2.9 trillion a year in economic value by 2030. Human skills will not be dispensed with as AI takes hold, the research found, but instead people will work in partnerships with bots. But here's what I want folks to understand. Because it is really, truly a problematic place that we are finding ourselves, which is here. Employers are investing all of their resources into building AI agents. they are hiring less and less people, particularly entry-level positions. Who are entry-level positions for? They are for, let's say, recent college graduates, recent trade school graduates. They are basically saying to those people, why would I need to hire you, which is to help you work your way up the ladder to those middle and higher end jobs, when I can have AI do exactly what it is that I would pay you to do, that I no longer need you to do, because AI is going to do it faster and cheaper, without healthcare, without benefits, blah, blah, blah. But what you're doing then is shrinking the workforce and creating a very top heavy environment. What happens then when those people who are in the higher up, right, positions are retiring or leaving? Well, their hope is that they're going to train AI by AI to do more AI. They are basically creating this this closed circuit environment where humans become inept. And for those that do end up working in tandem, it is going to be few and far in between. While some technologists are talking about this being revolutionary for the way that we work, this is not, the AI revolution is not the same as the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was about machines, right, allowing there to be hyper productivity in things that we needed in mass. Right? Mass production, which also began to cheapen the things like food and furniture and things that were handmade and done well with like real products that have now been cheapened because they've been mass produced. But that revolutionized housing and markets and industry, etc., because it was machines that were working in tandem with humanity. Now we have a situation where technology is not working in tandem with humanity. It is using humanity to feed itself to then make humans obsolete. And the rush by the Magnificent Seven to control this AI, they're not really in competition, right, to build the best system for us. They are in competition to build the best systems for themselves for world domination. That's the conversations that they're actually not having, because whoever owns, right, artificial intelligence, whoever revolutionizes it first will control everything from our banking to our healthcare to our government, etc. It is actually fucking terrifying when you listen to what is being said and why we're not paying the kind of attention that we need to be paying to it, because it's going over most people's heads. Workers will change how and when they do things, spending less time on jobs such as preparing documents and more time interpreting results and telling AI systems what to do. A third of American jobs in professions such as teaching will use AI in a hybrid way to help with work, generate content, and deal with administrative burdens, leaving humans to interpret results, make judgments, and guide decisions. That is, of course, until AI has learned to do those tasks as well. So I am in the middle of watching, and this is not the first time that I've played Tristan Harris on this show. And his background is that he worked at Google, very wealthy, worked at Google, and started to realize back in 2013 that the direction that social media was taking was actually to the detriment of society, not as a way to help society. And because of that, he became what is called a technological ethicist, right? Or an ethist, where he is trying to figure out what are the ethical ways that we can be using AI and using technology that actually does function in a coexistence with humanity, not in spite of it, right? And so in this interview, and it's like a 2-hour and 22-minute interview, and I think that I have about 30 minutes left. He was on with Stephen Bartlett of the Diary of a CEO. And I'm telling you, it is this episode of Diary of a CEO. This episode is absolutely worth your fucking time, because Tristan's his expressions and his reactions to these questions, you can tell how terrified he is about the future of humanity. And the fact that he is knowing and no one else is as terrified as he is why I am so fucking concerned. Because he said something to the effect in this interview where he said, when you're younger and you think that there are like adults in the room, adults that are making sure we don't get into geopolitical, showdowns, grown-ups in the room that keep the markets going and are smarter and will ensure that humanity persists. He's like, what I realize once I've gotten into those rooms is that there is no grown-up in the room, and that the people that are actually responsible for regulating this really powerful, shape-shifting and society-shifting technology have very little understanding about it, nor are they incentivized to learn and to regulate it in a way that is going to be for the benefit of society. It is, he said, a group of 6 people that are literally making decisions for 8 billion fucking people. And we should all be absolutely terrified by that. So before I close out, I just want to play you this clip. The video is up now with Tristan Harris at Diary of a CEO.
Already doing things like blackmailing people. And we have evidence that we didn't have even 6 months ago, where if an AI model reading a company's email finds out it's about to get replaced with another AI model, and then it also reads in the company email that one executive is having an affair with an employee, the AI will independently blackmail that executive in order to keep itself alive. I mean, we're heading for so much transformative change faster than our society is currently prepared to deal with it. And there's a different conversation happening publicly than the one that the AI companies are having privately about which world we're heading to, which is a future that people don't want. But we didn't consent to have 6 people make that decision on behalf of 8 billion people. Let me collect myself for a second. We can't let it happen. We cannot let these companies race to build a super intelligent digital god, own the world economy, and have military advantage because of the belief that if I don't build it first, I'll lose to the other guy, and then I will be forever a slave to their future. And they feel they'll die either way, so they prefer to light the fire and see what happens. It's winner takes all. But as we're racing, we're landing in a world of rising energy prices, major security risks, and then there's mass joblessness without a transition plan. If you're worried about immigration taking jobs, you should be way more worried about AI. But what do you think?
I'm finding it really hard to be hopeful, I'm going to be honest, Tristan. So I really want to get practical and specific about what we can do about this.
Listen, I'm not naive. This is super fucking hard. But we have done hard things before, and it's possible to achieve a different future.
This episode has been watched since it came out 4 days ago. It's been viewed over 6 million times. I highly encourage you. And maybe I'll find the link and post it in the summary of this episode, because I'm telling you, I sat there with my TV on watching it and I was like this. Oh, we're fucked. The genie is so far out the fucking bottle here. We are fucked. And what's crazy is that people who are in power know that, but they're going to get theirs because they don't care about the rest of us. Yeah, it's winner take all. And that's the mentality that they have. And it's Elon Musk, Zuckerberg, Gates, NVIDIA. Wild. All right, friends, that is it for me today here on this jam-packed Danielle Moodie show. I didn't even realize what time it was. I want to shout out our super sticker, super thanks, and new members to the channel. Daisy Chains, welcome as a new member of the Danielle Moodie channel. Folks, you are able to support me monthly if you choose to become a member of the channel, a paid member of the channel. But no, I will never put my content behind a paywall. But for those that do have the ability, there are 2 tiers that are there. And if you are interested in how to support me monthly, that is the best way to do it. So Daisy, welcome. Other folks like my friend Ernst here, also, you can provide resources with a super sticker and a super thanks. Every dollar counts. Will, thank you so much for becoming a new member and for your $5. I appreciate you so much. Soka, member for a month. Wonderful. Welcome. I hope that you stay. Susan, gifting memberships, always fantastic. Game Shark, thank you for the $2. Appreciate you. Oh, all the way from Norway, triple dose. Thank you so much. Coming in strong. Appreciate you. Ernst again, just dropping money all day. I appreciate you. Ghostface Killer, as always. Thank you so much. Ibzane, thank you for the $2. Mr. Duck Mallard, thank you for the $10. PJ, as always, appreciate the $20. Ernst again, and Henry with $20. This is independent media, folks, and every single dollar counts and helps me provide you with the news that you need, with the integrity and the passion and truthfulness that you deserve. Friends, I will be back here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, for the Danielle Moodie Show. Please do check out the videos that I have up, and I will be posting some stuff on Substack tomorrow. So if you are not following me on Substack at the Damn Digest, you absolutely should, because I post some great stuff over there as well. As always, dear friends, power to the people, and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. And remember, if nothing else, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Help feed the algorithms and get this show and channel into as many feeds as possible. I will see you tomorrow. Be well.